disproportionate. As a single man in my late 30s, I am aware that my belly should not protrude farther than my penis. At this point, it's a tie. I've been paying my 24-hour fitness membership and going regularly at least once a month for about 3 years. That's 36 times. I know that I need to go more than that, but I can't seem to break the once-a-month habit. A while ago, I figured I'd ask around and see what other men did to maintain their vim, their vigor. My lover, Jared, said, absolutely nothing, and neither should you. I like big bellies, and he reached over and rubbed mine. Somehow, this bothered me, and after he said that, I went twice in 1 week and inspired an anomaly. Bob, who bartends at the Divey Lounge around the corner from my apartment, immediately asked when I told him that I needed to start working out, what do you do when you go to the gym? I said, I lift some weights, and then I spin on a stationary bike. Bob, the bartender, stopped wiping the counter immediately and looked at me serious and asked, do you wear spandex? I said, I do, but I knew it, he interrupted. You totally wear spandex. You do. I just nodded and said, yes, I do. He walked away glowing like I had made his night. Sitting with me at the bar, Jason, with his pockmarked face and soil under his fingernails and fine, greasy hair, said, that's why I don't own a car. It makes me have to bike everywhere. Look at these. He proceeded to roll up the black denim shorts he wore above his shockingly hairless and muscular legs. He left them that way for the rest of the evening, bragging to the Thursday night regulars and various customers about his self-described biker thighs. Walking home one night with Mr. Delbert, who had to be pushing 70, I asked him about staying healthy. He said, I ain't ever worked out in my life except for chasing my kids around the house. But now all I do is walk Mr. Dog. I imagined his small frame, his slow and delicate footsteps walking Mr. Dog, his 80-pound Rottweiler. That's gotta be some exercise. He's huge, I said. I wouldn't get no small-ass dog, Mr. Delbert said. What's the point? A small dog doesn't scare anybody. It just irritates the shit out of you. Plus, you don't even need to walk a little dog. With Mr. Dog, he keeps me honest. I have to walk him every damn morning. I said, Mr. Dog scares the shit out of my daughter all the time. She's named him Monster. Mr. Delbert smiled and said, I like that. But to be honest, Mr. Dog is just a big old sweetheart. You'd be surprised how many monsters really just nothing but little babies on the inside. Mr. Delbert opened the gate to his house, Mr. Dog barking at me and pacing back and forth, waiting for him to come in. He then grabbed Mr. Dog's jowls, tugged hard from the left to the right and back and forth, whispering, are you a monster? Are you a monster? It was my daughter who broke the workout morass I found myself in. In her senior biology class, her assignment was to measure different human bodies and figure out what body weight, mass index comparable across gender and age lines. Dad, she said, I need to measure your body for my class. Absolutely not, I said, and straightened my posture a little bit. Dad, she said, seriously, I need to do this. I need to get an A. Don't you want to support my education? Her hand on her hip, her face crumpled in reproach, her long hair pulled up in a bun that punctuated the top of her head. She said it like her acceptance to college depended upon my participation. She said it like I had failed her entire life. Wrapping the yellow measuring tape around my forehead, she measured my skull. Big, huh? I said. Average, she responded. She measured my chest. She said, breathe in and out. I did, again and again and again, like I would never stop. Next, my arm span. She gripped the tip of my finger on my left hand and asked me to hold the end of the tape measure, and then she stepped to the other side of me. I felt infinite. She continued to measure the distance between my armpit and waist, the distance between my hip and foot. She had a look on her face, intense, driven, beautiful. I felt myself expand. I asked, do you remember when I used to ask you if you knew how much I loved you, and you'd say this much and measure a few inches with your fingers, and then I'd say even more, and you'd measure maybe a foot with your hands, and I'd say, nope, it's even more than that. And then you'd measure out farther and farther until you couldn't possibly stretch out anymore. Hold still, Dad, she said. I couldn't hold still. I dropped my arms. I needed her to hear me. I needed her to show me that she remembered. Do you, I asked. She lowered her measuring tape and looked at me and said, of course I do. And then she hugged me, and she put her head to my chest. She said, I hear your heart like it's speaking to me. When she got to the circumference of my belly, she actually laughed out loud. What? I said. Nothing, she said. What? I demanded, raising my voice like I meant business. Well, she said, and wrote something down in her notebook. Then, as if proving a hypothesis, she announced, you're disproportionate. How am I disproportionate? I asked. Your head and your stomach, you better do something if you want to live a long, healthy life. She turned and walked away, her hair bun bouncing with each step. From that point on, I have changed my behavior. I've been doing something. Of course I want to live a long, healthy life. For the last couple months on my drinking Tuesdays and Thursdays, I buy bitters and soda for the first hour and then drink one shot of Bulleit over the second hour as I sit in the bar making small talk with Jason and Mr. Delbert watching the basketball game. I bike instead of drive to do my errands, smiling as I think of Jason's thighs. When I slip on my black and neon orange spandex shorts, which match my black and neon orange spandex top, I smirk, thinking what Bob, the bartender, would say if he saw me. But it works. I haven't stopped. I feel good, but my belly refuses to retreat. I wonder if it's genetic. I rub it and feel the muscles under the skin, the fat, the jolly, jolly bounce of it, and the shake of it. Today, as I finish a project revamping a restaurant's website, I decide to go biking for exercise and pleasure. I shut my laptop and grab my bike. I fly out of my apartment and down the street, over the speed bumps. I howl at Mr. Dog in the yard. For once, the dog doesn't rush to the fence as I pass, but continues to sit in front of the door of Mr. Delbert's house. I bike to the shoreline, bike past cars stuck on the freeway, bike past Golden Gate Fields. I hear the flap of my windbreaker. I blend in with so many of the other riders in matching outfits. I stare at the thighs of men and women and appreciate the androgyny of it all. I imagine measuring each person, instructing them to move and bend, to stretch their bodies wider and wider. It's getting dark as I ride up the street, but I'm not worried about time because my daughter's with her mother and I have a salad waiting for me at home. I see a fire truck and a white emergency vehicle with the lights flashing. I continue past my house because the vehicles are in front of Mr. Delbert's house. There's a small crowd of neighbors. Hey, I ask a lady in a uniform, where's Mr. Delbert? The person living in the house? They took him to the hospital, she says. Is he okay? Not sure. How can I find out? Check the hospital, she says. One of the older neighbors shakes her head and says, it didn't look good. I feel my sweat starting to dry on my body in the cool night air. I watch the lights flash red and yellow on the houses. I hear a whimpering from the white truck. I say, what are you gonna do with Mr. Dog? Take him to the shelter because he's a risk. He wouldn't let the emergency workers get to the patient. I walk to the animal control truck and I look at the dog muzzled and slobbery. I say, can I take him? The fire truck pulls away and she's now the only official left. I say, please. Can you control him, she asks. Of course, I lie. She looks to see if anybody is watching. She says, take him then quickly. I don't want to do the paperwork anyways. I turn to the dog locked up in the kennel of the truck. I have never petted him before without Mr. Delbert standing right there. I usually just bark or howl or say hi when I rush by the house. Mr. Dog has only ever barked at me. I think even monsters are babies on the inside. I say, hello there, Mr. Dog. It's okay. It's okay. I repeat it like a lullaby or a prayer, and I reach in blindly. Knowing it's the dumbest thing I could possibly do, I take off the muzzle and grab the collar. I pull him out, but he bounds down immediately and sits beside me like a wounded thing. And I stare at him for a second, his big eyes and heavy breathing and slobbery lips looking back at me. I lead him I lead him and my bike back to my apartment, and he heals like I have actually walked him every morning. Later, I feed him some bacon, the only meat I have in the kitchen, because I'm trying to not eat too much of it. I'm trying to stay healthy, to live long. I make him a place to sleep in my room with a few towels. Sometime in the middle of the night, Mr. Dog sneaks into my bed. I see his looming figure block the light from the streetlight outside my window. I watch him try and get comfortable, circling and circling. Eventually, he simply falls on me, heavy and warm, his head in the curve of my armpit. I know I should shoo him off the bed, but I pet him, and he stretches out wide. I wonder how long he is. The distance between paw and chest, between head and tail, I wonder if he's disproportionate as well. He doesn't seem to mind the way my belly fits against his body. I wonder if he's worried, if he feels lost, how much he might miss Mr. Delbert. I reach down and put my hand on his chest, and I feel his heart. It beats in steady, constant thumps like he's answering me this much, this much, this much. Thank you.